Hi everyone, we are discussing the solutions of GATE 2019 of electronics engineering paper. So in this video we are going to discuss the question number 7, which is again an aptitude question. The question is, four people are standing in a line facing you. So they are facing you. They are Rahul, Matthew, Seema and Lohit. One is an engineer, one is a doctor, one a teacher and another a dancer. You are told that Matthew is not standing next to Seema. There are two people standing between Lohit and engineer. Rahul is not a doctor. The teacher and dancer are standing next to each other. Seema is turning to her right to speak to the doctor standing next to her. The question is, who among them is an engineer? The options are option A Seema, option B Rahul, option C Lohit, option D Matthew. So here to solve this question, we have to arrange these things based on these conditions given, and we have to try a lot of cases, and based on the cases we can arrive at the conclusion. There are two things given here. One, the names of person, and another, the professions of those persons. Okay, so the names of the persons: Rahul, Matthew, Seema, Lohit. Their professions: engineer, doctor, teacher, and dancer. Here the conditions are: Matthew is not standing next to Seema, so Matthew cannot stand next to Seema. Okay, and the second condition is there are two people standing between Lohit and engineer. So here we can arrive at a conclusion. We can derive the cases from this point. Okay, there are two people standing between Lohit and engineer. So totally there are four people, and here the two people are mentioned. One is Lohit and another one is and the engineer, and the two people are standing between them. So totally four people are involved in this point, in this statement. In this statement number 2, all the four people are involved. So we can derive a conclusion here that Lohit is not an engineer. Okay, so Lohit cannot be engineer. Okay, because the two people are standing between Lohit and engineer. So Lohit cannot be the engineer. Option C is ruled out. Okay, now we shall solve this here. There are four people: 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and there are two people standing between Lohit and engineer. Okay, it can be either in this manner or it can also be like this. There are two people standing between Lohit and engineer, right? So both the cases can come. Okay, now Matthew is not standing next to Seema, so we cannot make anything with this statement here. There are two people standing, so we have arrived at some conclusions here. Rahul is not a doctor, okay, so we cannot do anything with that statement in these two cases. Then the teacher and dancer are standing next to each other. Okay, so teacher and dancer, they can take either these two positions or these two positions. Similarly, here also they can take either these two positions or these two positions. Okay, then Seema is turning to her right to speak to the doctor standing next to her. So this is an important point. Seema is turning to her right to speak to the doctor, because the thing is Seema is involved in more than one place, in point number 5 and also in point number 1. So we can derive a lot of things from this Seema. Okay, so Seema is turning to her right to speak to the doctor. So Seema can either be here. If she is here, she has to turn to her right to speak to the doctor, because all the people are facing you. And if Seema is here, she has to turn to her right to speak to the doctor who is here. If Seema is here, she has to turn right to speak to the doctor, and Lohit will become doctor, right? So this is the thing. Okay, so this is in this case, whereas in this case Seema, she can stand here. She cannot stand in this position because already the position is filled by Lohit. So Seema can be here and she can turn to her right to speak to the doctor. Otherwise, can Seema be here to turn to her right to speak to the doctor? No, because already this position is occupied by this doctor. So this condition will not prevail. So we have only one specific position for Seema and doctor. So one more thing I have to mention here. Here I am writing the names above the line, above the dashes, whereas I am writing the profession below the dashes. Okay, so here Seema, she is turning to her right to speak to the doctor if this is the case. Okay, so only this condition can be applied here. So we shall proceed with this. Okay, because this is for sure. So if this is the arrangement, if engineer is here and Lohit is here and Seema can occupy only this position, we can make sure of it. Okay, we can be sure of it. Now Seema is turning to her right to speak to the doctor. Okay, so what about the other positions? Okay, Rahul is not a doctor. So Rahul, he cannot be a doctor. So Rahul should be here. Rahul must be an engineer. Okay, so can we conclude with that? No. So if this is the case, this position will be occupied by the fourth person, Matthew. Whereas here, according to point number 1, Matthew is not standing next to Seema. But here, Matthew is standing next to Seema. So here, this arrangement is wrong. Okay, Lohit cannot stand to the extreme right and engineer to the extreme right. So the entire case fails. Okay, because mostly in this case, Matthew happens to stand next to Seema, which is not correct according to statement number 1. Okay, so this is wrong. We have to proceed with this. Okay, so Seema is turning to her right to speak to the doctor. So let us do with this first. Seema turning to her right to speak to the doctor. Okay, so Seema is turning to her right to speak to the doctor. Matthew is not standing next to Seema. So here there are two positions unfilled. So Matthew, he cannot stand here because according to point number 1, Matthew cannot stand next to Seema. So Matthew has to occupy this position. And so this position has to be filled by Rahul. Whereas if Rahul fills this gap, he must be a doctor. That is according to point number 3, Rahul is not a doctor. So Rahul is not a doctor, so the position of Seema is wrong. Okay. Now we shall give this position to Seema. So she is turning to her right to speak to the doctor here. Okay. Now we have to give the places for Matthew and Rahul. So Matthew, he can either fill this place or fill this place. Okay. So in both the cases, if Matthew fills both this place or this place, what happens? It is overruling the point number 1. Okay, it is disobeying with point number 1. Matthew is not standing next to Seema, but here Matthew happens to stand next to Seema, which is wrong. Okay, so the correct position for Seema is this one. Seema is this one. So this is the only option that is available here. So we can conclude this. Okay, so we have tried all the other options. So Seema's position is here and Seema is turning to her right to speak to the doctor. Okay, now Matthew is not standing next to Seema. So Matthew is not standing next to Seema means Matthew has to stand here. He cannot stand here. Okay. Then there are two people standing between Lohit, so that condition is okay. Rahul is not a doctor. Yes, of course, Rahul is not a doctor. Now we have concluded that Lohit is a doctor and this position is occupied by Rahul. Okay, the teacher and dancer are standing next to each other. So which means the teacher and dancer, they can stand like this, or the dancer and teacher can stand like this. Okay, so this is there are two choices for the positions of teacher and dancer. So if this is the thing, Seema can either be teacher or dancer. Similarly, Rahul can either be a dancer or teacher, which we are not sure. Okay, but we have come to the conclusion that Matthew is the engineer and Lohit is a doctor, is the doctor here. Okay, the question is who among them is an engineer? The correct answer is Matthew is the engineer. Matthew is the engineer here. Okay, so if the question is who is the dancer here or who is the teacher here, we cannot arrive at any conclusion with these points. So we need some more clues to find the teacher and dancer. But here the question is who among them is an engineer. So with these 5 clues, we can easily arrive at the conclusion that Matthew is an engineer, and we also arrive at the conclusion that Lohit is the doctor. Okay, right. So the answer is Matthew. Option D. Matthew is the engineer. Thank you.